That's life.
That's life.
That's what all these people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that too.
Hello and welcome to a semifinals edition of AGT Cast, the America's Got Talent podcast. I am Cody Patterson. I am joined by Cody Mims.
Hello.
And we're here today to talk about the first week of semifinals for America's Got Talent.
Yay.
What do you think overall of this week of semifinals?
There were really only two acts that I ended up caring about in the end, but it was still an interesting watch. Emotions were flying.
Yeah, at this point, we're really getting into the meat of the acts. We're starting to see some really good talent come about. I think as a whole, there were some acts that we didn't want to see go home, and there was some acts that we absolutely wanted to see go home. And as and as we go through each of those, we'll kind of talk about each one and determine or talk about their fate and what happened. So you ready to kind of go through each act?
Of course.
The first act of the night was Sal Valentinetti. He sang "That's Life" by Frank Sinatra. So he brought out the classics. He didn't sing anything new and converted into old style form. What'd you think of Sal tonight?
I kind of liked it. I loved his intro. I liked all the old-timey filters on it. It seemed like he was doing some subliminal messaging there when he sang the line, "This final world." He made it sound a lot like final. And it was a good... It seems like a good Duncan Save song, but he did actually go through in the end. He had a good final note, but I agree with Mel that there were not enough big notes in this, so it didn't really wow me, but it was a pretty good performance.
Yeah, she did say that he felt like he was holding back some. I really enjoyed this performance too. Like you, I enjoyed the package. It felt very Vegas to me. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the movie Ocean's 11. It was a lot of fun to see with him and his cousin just sitting there in a L.A. or Hollywood restaurant with this little bitty plate, and they're probably used to a big plate of spaghetti or a pastry of some sort. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to see. Uh,
Sal is such a politician. You can tell he really wants to win it, and he's talking directly to America. And I think he knows how to get their votes, and he works very hard to do it.
yeah, he does feel like it does seem like he really wants to win this. I think some of the others are probably there just to put on a good show. I think the judges even mentioned that you can tell the difference between those that are there to win it or are there to just go through the motions and try to get a good contract. But he really, really wants this.
Yeah, I don't know how I really feel about all that stuff. I mean, I feel like everyone does want to win it, but in a way, America's Got Talent is not usually about voting so much as seeing cool things. So, if this is encouraged by the judges, it's interesting to think about the direction that will take the show. So I don't know. That's just been something I've been thinking about.
Yeah. One thing I found out about Sal this week is that he was on, he auditioned for American Idol at one point.
Oh,
Did you know
really?
that? Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think an uncle of his really encouraged him to go through and even uh, told him that, look, if you go and audition and you get the golden ticket, then I'll let you drive my car for the summer or whatnot. And Sal was really down on himself. He didn't think that he could do it, but he did go do it. And I think he did get the ticket, but it was just something I think that didn't air. But this is the first I'd heard of it the entire season that he auditioned for American Idol at one point.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I had him going through. I actually had the opportunity to vote for this one. I got up early Wednesday morning before the votes ended at 7 a.m. and I put 10 votes on him. I was like, I don't care what he's saying. I still want him to go through.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, for me, this performance was not as exciting as when he was charming more, and it was more of a surprise. Um, I don't know. I think this was good, but at the end of the day, he's kind of just a singer.
You think so? You don't think his showmanship is different than all the other singers, and that he might do something different in Vegas that the other singers won't?
I do. I mean, there's something special about him. He's certainly one of my favorite singers this season. I didn't know if he was doing the showmanship stuff as heavily in this performance or if he was like super focused on the singing. I don't know. I mean, I guess too, we've seen it all before. Maybe he doesn't want to tire it out, but to me, it seems like he's been toning that down a little bit. And I don't know. This performance seemed a lot like the last one, I guess, is what I'm kind of saying.
Yeah, it was similar, and he even when Mel B said he was holding back, he even said, "Yeah, I'm holding back for the finals."
All right.
So it seemed like for the finals, he's says he's going to bring something. It seemed like it felt like he was going to bring something different for the finals that he didn't bring for the last two performances. But like you say, it's a
Yeah.
singer. There's not much more they can really do. Um, he'll probably pull out another Frank Sinatra song. He may even pull out another One Direction song, like he did in Judges
Yeah.
Cuts, and give us that.
I mean, obviously, we are going to have singers in the final, so I'm definitely glad that he is one of them.
Yeah, I am too. The next one we have is Blake Voigt. He it's the magician. He did the "Wouldn't that be cool" type thing with the monitor. He said he guessed the card and he said, "Oh, I knew the card because I saw it on the monitor." And I thought that was very similar to the "Wouldn't be cool" thing that you said has been a trend
Yeah.
this year. So it
Yeah.
kind of felt the same way. What'd you think of Blake?
I thought he had a cute, simple intro. I think he is aiming for like a sort of a light comedy vibe with his act. I thought he had great use of Carmina Burana. Um, but ultimately, I'm up here in the box as kind of a weak ending. Magic wise, it wasn't that great. There was interesting presentation, I guess I would say. This was a weird one. Not his best performance.
No, I thought it was really weird as well. Starting out with a small magic trick and then going to a vanishing act where he appears up in the booth. This just did not impress me at all. And also, it kind of really turned me off when in the intro package, he basically took his best friend's girlfriend. And I'm like, that's not cool, dude.
do,
That's
you,
not cool at
do you
all.
morally object to him now?
Yeah, it's like you took your best friend's girlfriend. I mean, what's up with that? You
Yeah.
just don't do that. Uh, but then he goes into the magic trick, and then I just was not impressed with the magic trick at all. It seemed almost like something Caden Bart Rocket would do. I mean, it's
Well, he
similar. I
did
guess
do
I
this.
guess he did do that in his previous performance. Yeah, he did do that. So it still seemed very amateurish. Like it wasn't one of the top magic acts that we expect at this level.
Yeah, a lot of the magicians this year are sort of just rotating through the same trick, so it's kind of disappointing to me. But one magician did go through tonight, so we still have that to get to. Um, so yeah, Blake was an interesting contestant. I don't know if they ever really learned how to say his name because Nick said it differently the last week that he was on, but yeah.
Okay. Well, the next act we have is Edgar, who sang "Bless the Broken Road" by Rascal Flatts. I think they keep getting better each week. What do you think?
I gotta disagree. I think
Okay.
they're endearing, but I did not like the song choice. I just didn't really enjoy it. I thought last week they were a lot better.
Okay. I was okay with the song choice because it kind of goes with Nick Leonte's background and being the Christian contemporary. It's that song's kind of related to that, so it kind of fit with her, and I was okay. This week they sounded better by or as a group than they did when they became individuals. So when they kind of each got their little solo part, it wasn't as good as when they were a package.
Yeah, that little girl seemed really nervous.
She did look very nervous, yes.
But she also seemed very happy. Um, sort of like if you, I don't know, sort of reminded me of Grace Vanderwaal a little bit, but more extreme. I don't know. She doesn't seem used to all this, and that's fine. But yeah, hers was the most interesting part of this for me, I think.
Yeah. I thought this performance was better than last week. I still didn't have them going through. I just they're not as big as showy as say Sal or one of the other groups or other
Yeah,
singers. I thought they did a fine job, but I didn't have them going through to the next round.
yeah, they're a campfire band.
They are a campfire band. That's right. Yeah, their stage setup was a little interesting again this week. They kind of go with some. The way that the stage is set up for them is very interesting each week. They kind of have a really good setup.
So they did like a church theme this week, right?
Right.
And they sort of went all out with the religious themes. I think when they started, I had predicted that they would do songs that could be taken as religious songs and also not religious songs, but this time they really went uh, hip deep into it, and I hope that didn't like mess up their chances of going through or whatever. But yeah, I didn't vote for them.
Yeah. Now this was still a popular song. It's one of Rascal Flatts' most popular songs. It's still an older song. It's probably around 10 years old.
Sure.
Um, but it is one of Rascal Flatts' most popular songs.
Yeah, I think this might seem a little more country than the songs that they usually do. I'm not sure if I was getting that vibe from it.
You're right. It did seem a little country, and Rascal Flatts is a country group. I think they've done more pop songs before, or
Yeah,
maybe folksy type pop songs, whereas this was a more country song.
yeah, I would rather hear them do the folk stuff, but maybe that's just me.
Well, you won't be hearing much more of them this season.
Okay.
The next one we have is Lori Mae Hernandez, and she came out to "Eye of the Tiger." Do you think Lori Mae Hernandez has the eye of the tiger?
Um, I sort of. I think she wanted it quite badly. As we've talked about, they didn't talk to her when she lost, but I thought it was really interesting to see in her intro, like just how emotional she got when they said she was going through. I think most acts don't get that emotional, and I was kind of surprised to see that from this stand-up comedian. So that was sort of interesting. I do think this was her least terrible performance. Um, I didn't really laugh, but it didn't make me cringe very much. So, uh, what you see here is Lori Mae Hernandez pivoting to the general. Do you understand what I mean by that?
I think so. I mean, before she was pivoting to a certain crowd, a specific crowd, and you're saying
Yeah.
now she's went more generic and tried to please everybody.
Yeah, as in she has won the primaries and this is now the general election, so she's
Ah, I see what you're
taking
saying.
her point of view more neutral.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I thought her timing was a little off. Did you sense that at all?
Um, I don't know. It was silent in my house, but it's usually like that when she goes up. She was laughing at her own jokes. I heard. I didn't really notice that, but apparently that was something that happened.
I, isn't that? I think that's kind of something she does, though. Did she do
Yeah. Well,
that
I
the
don't
past couple of performances?
probably. I don't take off points for that in my head, but yeah, just something that might have messed up her timing. I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't laugh at all until she got to the very end where she insulted everybody, and I actually chuckled at that.
Right. I think she knew what to finish with, so that's something to compliment her on, I guess.
Yeah, but it doesn't help if you don't have a strong beginning. You got to have a strong beginning in a comedic act to draw people in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they all said she needs to work on her material, so I'm not sure she's really meeting the bar as much as the judges like her.
Yeah, Simon said this was her best performance, but you said it's her least terrible performance. Is that kind of the same thing?
Yeah, I guess I agree.
I did not have her going through to the next round though. Even though it was her least worst performance, it's still, even it being the third act, I didn't feel it was good enough to move on to the finals.
Yeah, the judges give her too much credit, I think. I didn't have her going through either. I didn't vote for her. One thing I think is interesting that I was thinking about during her intro is they haven't touched her dad's condition since the auditions, which I guess is something you normally don't see. But her dad, like, isn't able to show expression in his face because of some kind of palsy, and they haven't mentioned that since then. I thought that was an interesting thing to think about. Some people really hate sob stories. I'm not one of those people, but yeah.
No, I don't hate sob stories. I just don't want to see them every week. I think it was fine to mention at the beginning in the auditions. I think that's fine. And then now, I think with musicality, they pretty much did it every single week.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They're a big group of people. Like, there's only so much you can talk about, I guess. I think the intros are for just basically the time to get to know the acts. And I think that, comes with whatever hardships they may have in their life. I don't really understand the objection to them, but yeah, musicality didn't have the strongest night, obviously. So they did have that. I thought their intro was interesting. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, and we can go ahead and talk about it if we're done with Lori Mae Hernandez.
Oh yeah, they are the next group. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we can go right into musicality. Uh, with their intros, we can kind of continue on with that since we're moving into them. With their intros, that's pretty much all we've heard every week is the sob stories, and that's fine. I want to hear maybe some uplifting stories. What good has happened to them since they've been on the show? Have people come up to them and said, "Hey, we want you all now to sing the national anthem somewhere," or what good has come from them being on the show in the last uh, few months? So I just like to see something different. I'm not against sob stories. I want a variance. I want a range.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think their direction with all of that is probably steered a lot by their director, who reminds me a lot of many color guard directors. And this thing they did in their intro with them saying all of their labels reminded me a lot of a color guard show. So I think they're trying to get like sort of artistic with it and make it its own little performance, which is interesting. I also thought it was clever of them to sneak in another mini performance in their intro. I actually thought it sounded better than when they were on stage, but yeah.
Yeah, but they probably have a few chances to redo that.
Yeah. And they use better soloists too.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like I'm being the downer. I feel like I'm being the downer on them and just being all negative musicality. I'm not trying to be that way. Um, I've spoken my piece about musicality the last few weeks and how I feel about them, but we can kind of talk about this particular performance.
Right. Well, choirs do not usually make the finals, so their fate could be anticipated, I suppose.
So you're saying choirs in general just don't make it? It's just kind of been that trend.
Yeah,
Why do you
I
think
think
that? Why do you
so.
think that is? What do you think that is?
Sometimes they are religious centered. That could have something to do with it. In the end, I guess it's not very showy, and that sort of big, powerful sound you get from many people singing probably does not translate well to TV.
Yeah, that makes sense. We saw a choir at the very beginning in auditions, and they didn't move on. Did we see a gospel choir at the
Um,
beginning?
yeah, yeah, I do remember one
Okay.
that was also in there.
And musicality sang "Born This Way" by Lady Gaga. What do you think of that?
I thought this was a terrible song choice. Um, this really weird, shallow sounding music. Not a lot of range in this one, I guess. I'm not totally sure how to critique it, but basically didn't sound that good. I think the director was a little misguided on this one. I think the theme of the words sort of ties into the labels thing that they had going in their intro, but I mean, come on. Just like Lincoln Bridge, I think you have to think about how the song is really going to sound. I think that's kind of the most important thing, unless you're Callista Bevier.
You could pretty much sing any song you want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think lyrics are very important for her act.
that is true. That is true. Yeah, I didn't. The song didn't feel right to me either. I thought it was not a very good song choice. Uh, I had down as well. I didn't know what to think of this act, kind of like what you just said. It didn't seem like they. It did seem like they had a lot of energy behind the song, but yeah, like you say, lyrics do play an important part. Um, and then it didn't seem like it fit with what needed to be in this performance. I'm not sure how to explain that because again, I'm still confused by this act even today. It's been a couple of days since
Yeah.
we've seen it. Um, when I was watching it, I was just sitting there like I'm not sure what to think. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Ultimately, I came to thinking I don't really like it that much. Um, Mel B said it felt like a well rehearsed school performance. Did you kind of feel that
Yeah,
same
I
way?
agree.
Yeah. Once she kind of put some light into things, I was like, it did kind of sound like I was watching something that a school choir group would put on. So the judges didn't feel great about this. I think just as a whole, people didn't feel great about this performance.
Yeah, and when Mel said her piece, it sounded like there were people booing straight into the microphone, so that made me laugh.
Yeah, yeah, it
But
did.
yeah, I wish they wouldn't. I wish they wouldn't be so hard on the judges for doing their job.
No, and they're just giving their opinion. If they flat out just insulted somebody, that's one thing. But if they don't feel good about something, I think that's their opinion. Especially if
Yeah,
some of us at home didn't feel good about it either. We may be a little biased because we didn't think it was that good either. But you're right. They shouldn't boo the judge just to boo the judge.
yeah. I mean, I guess you feel better about these acts when you see them live, unless you are a judge and you've seen them every week. But yeah, I think they speak for America a lot of times. And you don't usually hear one lone person in the crowd booing because they don't agree.
Do you think the judges actually influence America in their voting?
Um, yeah, probably. Well, there's certainly a trend towards them, so it's hard to see. Um, are there a lot of people who just have the same mindsets as the judges, or do their opinions actually influence? I mean, there have been some acts that have gotten standing ovations and haven't gone through that round, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, I've always kind of had the mindset that the judges do kind of influence what America votes because as a whole, uh, because people watch this and then they say, oh yeah, they must be right. They're professionals. They've judged lots of performances. Maybe they're right that this is not a good performance. I'm not going to vote for them. Maybe that's my
Yeah,
tinfoil. Maybe that's my
sure.
tinfoil hat being put on again. But I feel that America as a whole follows what the judges say.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The next act that we had was Deadly Games. Anya got a haircut. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it was different in her intro than the practice footage. Yeah, she looked good.
She did look good. She came out in kind of this Elvira looking outfit. I thought she looked very nice in that outfit. What'd you
Uh
think
huh.
of Deadly Games? What'd you think of the performance?
Uh, this was so intense, as it always is. When she got behind the paper, he was throwing those knives so fast.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, I was thinking, I hope their crossbow doesn't malfunction.
Yes.
And then again with the incredible camera work, I love that over the shoulder shot that they had on him. I just thought they're absolute rock stars.
Yeah, where they were basically looking down the scope of his crossbow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything about this was so good.
Yeah. I thought it started a little slow with the whips and the roses. I did enjoy it. I just thought it started a little slow, but I like that their performance does kind of do that. It kind of draws you in with something a little soft, and then they get more and more intense throughout the performance.
Yeah. Um, this is probably one that benefits the most from live TV because you don't really know what's gonna happen. So it really can keep you on the edge of your seat, and I really like that.
Yeah, I mean he could easily shoot her or throw a knife through her. It's very possible.
Yeah, I'm sure that wouldn't get broadcast, but like you, as you're watching the act, you still don't know if it could happen.
Yeah, I mean they would easily cut away from it quickly, but and then not knowing what just happened. You know, if something did happen and they cut away,
Right?
then you're like sitting there wondering, okay, is Anya bleeding on the stage?
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this. I of course wanted to see them go through. I wanted to see Anya again next week. I wanted to see what they're going to do next. Um, you know, unfortunately, we're not going to see them.
Yeah. I really think this is the most underrated act of the season.
Yeah, it seems like that they are kind of the underdog. Are they? Would you consider them an
Hmm.
underdog in this season?
Yeah. It blows my mind that they didn't go through. I mean, it seemed like they have it all. You know, they had the danger, they had um, the uh, the appeal. You know, let's say
They have the
what?
sex. They have the sex appeal.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
They don't have the emotional story, I guess. So I don't know if that influenced them. Not everyone who goes through does, but yeah, I was really sad to see them go, and I did think that I thought when Howie made his joke that Simon was high fiving him at first, but that is also the magic of live TV.
Yeah. Yeah, and how he made the joke that he would stand up, but he couldn't.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly the joke, but he would give them a standing ovation, but he couldn't at that particular time.
yeah,
Uh,
I thought he was funnier than Laurie Mae Hernandez that night.
yes, yes. No, I'm very sad to see them go too. They look like they really love each other. They really trust each other. Uh, you know, it's great that they're both the act. She's not just the assistant type
Yes.
thing. So it's a shame. Uh, and
Hmm.
we'll get into the results a little bit and kind of talk about all that.
Yeah.
Well, next we get to your boy Tape Face. Uh, we found out Tape Face is married,
Oh yeah.
so that's something from the package. What'd you think of Tape Face this evening?
Yeah, this was my great little block in the middle of the show of the acts that I love. Um, I did like his intro. He was showing off his improv mime skills, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, you can see he does have the chops in the most classic and traditional sense, I guess. Um, and I was really excited when he got someone from the audience because, like, how often is there this level of audience participation in a performance this late in the game? Um, some people said, you know, this wasn't his best. I can see where they're coming from. I think this whole thing was very cute, and I wish he had time for more.
Yeah, he is kind of limited by time. I was kind of I was one that was kind of on the fence about this performance as well. Um, he's I'm guessing he's one that works on building up the joke and then just starts having a lot of fun with it, kind of like he did with the uh, what he did with Heidi way back in I think Judge's Cuts, and then bringing
Right,
Nick out and having the sunglasses. It seems like he's got a lot of build up. He had a lot of build up in this one with the balloons and the guy up on stage and putting the balloons under the arms and between his legs. But then at the end when he had the staple fight with the guy, I just felt a little let down. Not a lot, a
yeah,
little. I mean, I chuckled a little bit at it, but I wasn't totally tuned into this one.
yeah. I think if you saw him for an hour and a half or 2 hours, you'd leave feeling very happy, and I think that is a good it's a good thing to have in your performance. But yeah, like the other comedians, he is very constrained by time, and it was a shame that he was even a Duncan save, but um, I think he's gonna pull out something good for the finals.
Yeah, I hope so. He should get a little bit more time in the finals, and I'm hoping he reaches deep into that saddlebag of his and pulls out something really good. Um,
Yeah,
Now he was also victim to. an incident between Mel B and Simon after his performance that just lit up the Reddit board
Oh
with
yeah.
the pouring of the water. And I'm getting a little tired of them taking time out for Mel B to go pour water on Simon. I think they've pretty much done that every single week.
Well, what I'm getting tired of is Simon provoking the other judges so much, but I don't know. Tapeface actually did tweet a joke about this that, much like Tapeface, the judges did a lot and said nothing.
Yes.
So that was the best part of all that. Um, yeah, I wasn't too mad about that, but she did apologize for it the next night. So I don't know. I think all's good. He still went through.
Yep. You get to see your boy in the finals.
Yeah. I hope he's in the top 5. I don't really remember how the finals format works because it's kind of weird, but I think the people who end up in the top 5 get to do like some sort of other performance and like some performance that is basically like a remix of something they've done before, and then they also get to perform with like one of their idols or something. Um, so I hope we get to see something like that with him, but it'll be very good to see him in the finals.
Yeah, I'm real excited about it. I'm hoping that he can rebound from this a little bit. I know there's a lot, including you, that love him a lot. I was kind of on the fence. I'm hoping. I want to come back from the way I felt about this performance.
Yeah,
I want to see this guy in a bigger setting. If he was ever in my area, I would go see him, and like you say, for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be. I think he would be absolutely hilarious. Just going, just doing all that comedy for all that period for a longer period of time.
yeah. This is sort of what I feared would happen with him, but I think I was mostly concerned about him doing things that wouldn't appeal to everyone, whereas this I think just probably didn't aim high enough. But he did make it to the finals, so I think we're safe to see something good next time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm generally happy.
Okay, well, good. The next thing we had was Henry Winkler. Were you happy to see the Fonz for a few seconds?
Yeah, this was lame, but better late than never is an interesting beast. Since you don't watch the show on TV, I seriously doubt you've ever taken time to watch it, but it'll boggle your mind as to why anyone would ever create such a thing
No,
in sort of a fun way.
I have seen the promos for this. It does look interesting. I will probably never watch it. Uh,
I usually can't make it past the first commercial break.
okay, okay. So you don't think it's long for this network?
No, I mean, not a lot that they put after AGT is. Like, I doubt Maya and Marty is going to get renewed, but, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think people are going to watch it. The production values are sort of high, although they're very lazy with their green screen effects. It's just such a weird thing. Anyone who has not tried it, I urge you to watch like 3 minutes of it just to see what it's like. Maybe I'm playing exactly into NBC's hand by saying that, but yeah.
Yeah, now all 50 of our listeners are going to go out there and watch it, and their ratings are going to go up, and it's going to get
The
renewed for
ratings are
another.
going to triple.
Yeah, that's right. Well, after the Fonz, we went to John Dornbos. Uh, I love that he brought his football experience into this act.
Yeah, it was bound to happen.
Yeah, he even did his long snapping. As a football fan, the snap was off. It was high and to the right, which is really not where you want the ball to end up if you're a long snapper.
Oh, so he
Yeah,
wasn't going for the middle of the thing?
I don't know if he was actually going for the middle of the thing. It landed over there on the East Coast near Philly, which is where he plays. Um,
I think that's what it was.
yeah, that may have been what it was. I don't know. I was just thinking that if he was if if he was truly trying to long snap it, he would have hit it right in the middle of Texas. But
Okay.
maybe he was aiming for Philly and
Yeah,
then
I see what you're saying.
yeah, you see what I'm saying. But I thought it was great they brought the judges up on the stage. Did you like that?
Obviously, it didn't go that well for him, but Yeah, I think doing that is a good choice. It makes it a fun time. Um, so, yeah. Overall, I think in other areas his presentation was sort of lacking. I think you should not let the crowd decide anything because that basically means you're gonna say whatever you want to say. Obviously, that didn't make that big a difference, but yeah, I think he was pandering to his crowd a little bit too with all of the football stuff. Um, for instance, what he says at the end is the stuff I have the most problem with, and also he had like these random sentimental props, like a journal he had when he was in the hospital, or something that belonged to his uncle. Um, this is when I start to have a problem with sob stories is when there's just like random things shoehorned into the act when it's not like the main theme and it doesn't really belong in there. Um, but yeah, people like John. He doesn't get a lot of complaints for that, even though those same people hate sob stories. Um, Overall, I didn't like this that much. I think he's sort of the most overrated act that we saw tonight. What did you think?
I thought it was a pretty good act. I enjoyed it. I could kind of see that he was in all different directions. He was going in all different kinds of directions. Ultimately, it worked out for him. Um, but he started out with the calculator. He was adding up the numbers that they hit, and I think the numbers were in order of when the states became states. I think that's kind of the order
Oh,
they were
really?
in. Yeah, I think I kind of noticed that they were all in order because I was trying to see if they were in order from East Coast to West Coast, and they weren't. It just so happened that Hawaii and Alaska are 49 and 50, and then I was kind of relooking at it, and I was thinking, I bet they're in order of when they became states, which is a
Oh,
nice little
okay.
thing. That's a nice little touch on
That's kind of
there.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then he was trying to add those up, and then he had this, right, the journal, he had this lockbox, and then he had some coins that were supposed to add up to $1.67, but added up to $1.11. The judges couldn't do math. Um, it's like he's like it's four quarters, and you get four judges that are all from not from America and probably aren't familiar with American quarters and dimes and nickels. Um, and probably don't even have change that small. They're trying to they're trying to add it up. You have judges that are whipping out $100 bills. I doubt they carry around change.
True.
Um, and then they open this thing up, and then there's a map where they all hit. So it's like he was trying different things to get it all match up, and it didn't. And then all of a sudden, it just did. It also felt very hurried. He was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, we got to go to this. Okay, now we go to this. Now we got to go do that." They mentioned several times that they were running out of time. So, ultimately,
Yes.
ultimately they got it in. They got it right, but it seemed like it was very. Uh, he had to go a long way around to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last time he had the prediction bag coming out of nowhere, and I thought that was a little clumsy. I thought it didn't bode well for his future on the show, and then I guess this could be sort of described as him falling apart a little bit, but nobody else seems to think that. So I don't understand why I'm so alone in this opinion. I just don't see what everybody is so into about John. But you gave him some pre-votes, so hopefully you can explain to me what the appeal is here.
I just think he's a lot of fun to watch, and it might also be that NFL thing. Um, but he's got a lot of presentation, a lot of showmanship, similar to Sal. He he doesn't have any downtime like Blake does. He's not very awkward in going from one thing to another. If something goes wrong, he's adjusting to it very quickly. Um, and he knows how to. He seems like he has a backup plan in case something does go wrong on the magician part of it. But as far as the entertainment value, I think he seems very entertaining to watch. I like that he didn't do just small stuff this time. He actually went and had something prepared up on the stage, so that shows a little bit of range, a little bit of versatility. He's always done card tricks and other types of things right down there on the judge's desk. Well, this time he was actually up on the stage doing something.
Yeah, that is a good change. If he kept to close up, I think that would not go as well for him. I don't know if he's as good as that, but yeah, people have been saying this is basically the same trick that we have seen like 3 times this season, magic wise. Um, so whether you believe that or you think there was something forced in the judges' throws, I don't know. Too much going on for me.
Yeah. I did not have, even though I enjoy this, I did not have him going through, and I even pre-voted for him, before even seeing his act. But then after seeing the act, I was thinking people aren't going to enjoy this. They're not going to get it, and there are other acts that seem to be better. So even though I liked it and I voted for it, I didn't think that he would go through to the finals. A lot of other people are upset that he is an NFL player and he's already made all this kind of money that he shouldn't be going on America's Got Talent for $1 million. I did a little research and went and looked up his contracts over the last 13, 14 years, whatever his career says he is. He has only made, I know this sounds like not very much, but he has only made $10 million in his entire NFL career. For an NFL player, that's really not a lot. Um, he makes below the average for the entire NFL. I think this year he only makes around $1 million, million one, million two, something like that. And that's after a 14-year career in the NFL. And even 14 years is a long career for an NFL player. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot. There's a lot of the skill players, your quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, all those type players that make about that every year. So, and he's in his probably mid 30s. Well, that's all he has to live on now for the rest of his career or the rest of his life. So he's now looking at the next chapter of his life. What's he going to do now for the next 30 years or so? And it looks like magic is something that he really wants to do.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting. It would not surprise me at all if next time you said vote for me so this million goes to charity. But um, if he wants to pivot to magic, I don't really object to that.
yeah. And I think they don't really give them $1 million right up front. I think it's paid out over a long period
Yes.
of time. Yeah,
So his yearly salary would turn into a 40 yearly salary.
pretty much. Yeah. That kind of spoken my piece on John. Do you have anything else on John?
Um, yeah, I think he had a good twist with the quarters. Um, I think the currency not adding up was planned. So I like that part of it, but he is no match for the clairvoyance.
Oh no, no, he's not.
If he
No.
defeats them in the finals, I'll be very upset.
Yeah. But we still got to see them next week. They still got to make it to the finals.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But you're right. He and Blake. I thought he did much better than Blake did. I don't think Blake's even in the same category with the obviously not with the clairvoyance. So if I kind of had to rank the magicians from what we've seen so far, I would definitely have clairvoyance, then John, then maybe is Caden still in it? I think we'll see Caden next week.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And then I would put Blake at the very bottom. And Caden and Blake are a distant third and fourth.
Well, my thing about Blake is that he has invented his own magic. Even though that's not what he did this time, there's something there in that regard. I don't think that Caden does that. I don't think John does that. So there's that makes me like Blake a little bit more. But yeah, presentation wise, he did not succeed.
Yeah, and for me, a magician is not just about the magic; it's about the performance. It's about the entertainment value. I mean, people have been doing magic for a long, long time. It's basically the same tricks all the time, but it's how you present that trick. It's how you entertain people. That particular. I mean, I should speak not people. It's how you entertain me when I see a performance. How I want to be entertained.
Yes. If Blake does not make it as a magician, I hope he has a good career behind the scenes.
As what? Like a coach or as what?
I hope he keeps creating magic like he's done
Oh
for
yeah.
several
Okay.
big stars.
That is true. Yeah, he creates it and sells off magic. You're right about that. Yeah, I forgot that he mentioned that in his Fool Us episode that he sells off his magic as well.
Yes.
Okay. Any final thoughts on John?
Um, no, I guess we'll get to some more thoughts on the results.
Okay. Well, the next we have is Grace Vanderwall. She brought in an extra musicians this week. She had a celloist and a drummer.
Yeah.
How you think Grace did this week?
I didn't even really notice that or pay much attention, but looking back, I think it was a good choice to show that she can do things with a whole band. I mean, I guess if you think about that, you also want to consider what genre she is ultimately going to perform in, and I don't know if she's going to be with a full orchestra every time. Um, but I have to say, she's an incredibly mature performer.
Yeah, she does seem like she's improved some since last time. I even have in my note, it looks like she had a little growth spurt too, like she's taller.
No, I didn't notice that.
You didn't notice that? Okay. But it is great, like you said, that she can now perform with other musicians on the stage. If she ends up winning this, when she does her performances, she's going to have probably backup singers and a band. It's not going to just be her. There will be times it'll be her and just her ukulele, but I would agree that she's going to have a band up there as well.
Yeah. Um, the thing is, I think, again, the song didn't sound that original. And also, it really doesn't help that we just saw her 7 days ago. So it was pretty good, I guess, but I wasn't getting out my phone to vote for her.
Would you have rather seen her next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have helped.
Okay. Um, do you also notice that she gets her own special microphone?
No, what is it?
Well, I don't know if it's special, but like all the other singers, they'll have just the standard black microphone. But this week and last week, she has this special white microphone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is something that she brings or if they say, we bow to you, Grace, and you're the greatest we've seen this season. We want to give you a little special white microphone. I don't know. It's just kind of those little things that kind of stick out with the celloist and the drummer, and she gets her little microphones. Just kind of those little things stick out to me, especially when it's ones we've talked about that seem so special themselves in Grace.
Yeah.
That they're kind of doing these little things to kind of make her stick out some.
Yeah, I think she knows what she's doing, and she's got a lot of talent. So I hope we see a song that is more impressive to me next week. I don't know how other people felt about this song, but yeah, I can totally understand being captivated by her singing.
Yeah, I'm the part of America where I'm okay with the original songs, but since it's not a song that I'm well aware of, I'm not paying attention to the song itself. I'm kind of paying attention to everything else that's going on around her. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that probably works to her benefit.
that she's singing her original songs.
Well, she's got so much talent and like attention to detail and everything that if you are thinking about the actual singing quality and what is going on in her performance and her playing her ukulele, which I seriously don't remember if she did this week, but yeah, that probably works for her because she's very good in all of those aspects.
Yeah, she did play her ukulele this week, and it seemed like it was a little bit different ukulele. Now, I think there are different types of ukuleles. This one seemed a little bit different than the one we saw last week. I think it was a little bit bigger um, than the one she's played before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think she has one in particular that she really loves, so I don't know if that was it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not for sure. The next group we have is Malivo. What are your thoughts on Malivo?
This was a pre-taped act, behind the scenes fact, because their stage was so big. Um, but overall, I think the water stuff was interesting, but I like it better when it's used in more graceful acts. Sometimes there will be like ballet dancers that will dance on top of this like water screen thing, and I think it's really cool. Um, but I thought this was kind of boring. You couldn't even really hear them playing, so it kind of defeated the purpose of the act. But I will say it's nice to see Howie in a good mood.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was a pre-taped. So they did they tape it before the show?
Yes, that is what Donut Express said.
Well, good job, Donut Express. Was is he the one that was there the entire show and
Yes.
met all those people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they did it before, so they didn't have to fill the water during the show and all that. Okay, that's interesting. Didn't even think of that. Yeah, I've been mentioning for weeks that their act doesn't translate into TV because you can't hear the drums, you can't hear the stomps, you can't hear the beats of the bolo. Um, you know, Donuts
Yeah.
probably enjoyed it much more when he was there because he could probably hear all that. But the music
He
just
did say that. He said they were amazing live.
yes, and I think I said that at the very beginning that when I saw them, not them, but the act similar to them at the theme park around here, that I enjoyed it way more in person than I am seeing them on TV. So
Mm-hmm.
we can go back and review that tape if you need to. Yeah, the group I saw, I did see live, and I did enjoy it much more in person than I have watched it on TV. But that's good that he got to see them there because it is fun when you're actually there in person. And I maybe I hate to admit this, I might be coming around a little bit on them because if they are a Vegas act, people are going to see them in person. They're not going to see them on TV. So
Yeah.
those of us that are watching them on TV now, we're not getting that experience. So that's why I'm not sure why people are voting for them. But if people are voting for them and they do end up winning this, then those that get to see them in Vegas will have a very enjoyable show because they'll get those drums and the foot stomps and the beats of the bolo. So I'm glad to hear him say that it is different there live than it is on TV.
Yeah, they should go on one of those AGT live tours.
Oh, that's right, they do have those. I forgot about that. I've also kind of compared them. I have here these guys have the are the Anya of Deadly Games. Or sorry, guys have Anya from Deadly Games. Girls have Malivo.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's maybe who keeps voting them through is uh, a certain demographic that really likes this group, and that's what keeps pushing them through. So
That makes sense. I've
yeah,
heard a lot of people say that they like them, and I don't know. I guess I'm just more into like modern American stuff. I don't know how to say that really, but yeah, they just never really appealed to me. But I don't doubt that they're talented. This the song choice I think was bad, but that's really the only misstep I think they made in their performance.
yeah, it'd be nice if they kind of brought out some more music that's from Argentina, some Argentinian type music that goes with that act. Because the act that I saw, that was the whole theme was you're going to watch Argentinian performers, and during the act, they not only did what Malivo does, but they then talked about their culture and their history and the types of things that they do down there and what these dance moves and the bolos and all that and what it all means. So if maybe they kind of integrated Argentinian type music or modern Argentinian type music in with their act, that might help improve some of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Our last act of the night was Laura Breton. She sang Pie Jesu in honor of her grandfather.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. I think she said he passed away in January. So she sang this in
okay,
honor of him.
yeah. I thought this performance felt weirdly short. I don't know if that is the case or if I just sort of zoned out. Um, I liked her last performance better, but what do I know?
Is it all kind of just opera to you? Is it all very similar? I'm
Yeah,
asking.
I
I'm
guess.
asking.
I
I'm
mean, I
not
think
trying to be. I'm not trying to be smart. I'm asking.
yeah, that's basically what it is. I'm not a good judge of it. I think her last one I probably liked better because she held longer, bigger notes. But yeah, I feel like I've heard this song before, and I don't really like it that much. So there's that. Yeah, I liked her last performance better. So no votes from me.
Yeah, you probably have heard this song before. It is a very famous song. Jackie Evancho sang it on one of her Christmas albums. It's a very religious song. You say it seems short. The song itself is not very long.
Okay.
In the lyrics here, it's probably only about 10 to 12 lines. So it's all about the meaning behind the song and not the and um, and kind of what it means to certain people and not really the length of it. So yeah, it's not that she was cut short. The song itself is not very long. Now you can make it longer by drawing out notes or maybe repeating things. Um, so Simon said this was the best performance she's given, but you're thinking it's all sounds the same to you.
Yeah, I mean he's probably right, but I just don't have the sort of background knowledge required to really judge her. But if it comes down to did she entertain me and do I want to see more, I have to say no.
No, I'm with you. I love Jackie Ivanko when she was on. I would love to see the two of them sing together, but I don't really want to see her in the finals. I had her as a Duncan save, um, just right on the edge with I even had Tape Face as a Duncan save. Um,
Mhm.
so it was okay. It wasn't great. I think they could have ended with something else and put her kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So
She probably will sing with Jackie Evancho. Your dream could become a reality.
it might, yep. And maybe they'd release an album together.
Yeah.
Well, that's our last act that we're going to talk about, and we're going to move right into the results. And we've already talked about some of the results, but we'll go into more detail about what the results show, what happened on the results show. Uh, on the results show, we had quite a few magicians tonight.
I think we've seen them in a previous season, and this wasn't that much better. The one that I liked the most was the one where he told people to try to break the glass with their voice just because it was sort of funny and it was cute to see Laura try.
Yeah, uh, yeah. Adam Trent, he was pretty good. I really liked him.
Yeah. For the most part, these were kind of pointless, time filling non sequiturs. I think I would have rather had Michael Phelps in, but I don't know.
Really, wow. Michael Phelps and the Fonz.
It seemed like he just took up less time. I don't know.
Well, they have less acts now that they have to go through, so they have to. There's more time they have to fill.
Oh, that's
Um,
true. That's a good point.
yeah, yeah. There's less acts now that they call out, so they have to fill more time. The magicians out themselves, they just didn't really stick out. I noticed, I think during one of them, or maybe even talked about the illusionists. I didn't know if the illusionists was like a group of magicians, or were they just saying that
Yeah.
all of these guys were illusionists as a whole.
Yeah, they're sort of an institution. I don't know if they're like the Magicians Alliance or whatever, but yeah. I guess they're an act that tours together. I've always been confused on that. But they are a proper noun illusionist.
Okay, okay. So it's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters. They just tour and bring in new
Yeah.
magicians all the time. Okay,
Yeah, I guess so.
okay. Well, that sounds fun. But these guys just, there doesn't seem there's anything special about them.
Yeah.
We started out the night with the Duncan save, and the three acts that got put into the Duncan save were Edgar, Laura Baton, and Tapeface. And I had Laura Baton and Tapeface both picked as Duncan saves. What'd you think of this?
I didn't have either of them picked as Duncan safe. The only predictions I did were on Monday night before we saw any performances. But yeah, I was sort of surprised to see Tape Face there, but I mean, intellectually, if you think about it, it makes sense. So I did want Tape Face, and I figured it would be um, Tape Face would win the vote, and then Laura would win judges' picks. But the votes sort of went back and forth on that, so it was interesting to see.
Yeah, I paid attention to the actual voting this time, and between the two of them, it stayed very close the entire night.
Yeah, well, at first, Tape Face had like 50% of the vote, and then it somehow swung around to so that Laura was winning, and then Tape Face got it in the end. So I don't know. I guess that Tape Face fans are more passionate. Vote earlier.
Yeah, there's a big following on Reddit for Tape Face fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll come back to the how all that ironed out here in a moment. The next group we had was Musicality, Lori Mae Hernandez, and Grace Vanderwall.
Yeah, out of this group, I did want Laura. Sorry, I wanted Grace, uh, and yeah, I think everyone could see that it was going to be her.
Yeah, yeah, it was her, and I loved how Howie just told her, "Look, your world has now changed. The world you knew before is not going to be the same anymore. So you just need to stay true to yourself and stay who you are." And it was kind of nice to, tell a kid this that, you know, the person you were before no longer exists. Everything has changed for you.
Yeah, she's living the dream, and she deserves it.
Yeah, and it seems like it's happening really fast for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess maybe that's something to worry about, but maybe not.
No, I think just well, and all we have to go by is her packages and kind of what I see on Twitter. But she seems like she's kind of a down to earth type girl, and she has a
Mm-hmm.
really good support group around her. So I think she'll stay true to herself and not let it get over her head.
Yeah, I think she's still like making silly YouTube sketch videos and just being a kid. So it's nice that she is so down to earth like that.
Yeah. The next group we had was Sal Valentinetti and Malivo. What do you think of this?
Um, yeah, I didn't really see Maliva going through. Um, some people did, but I think this is sort of where it ends for them. And I did want Sal out of this too.
Yeah, I wanted Sal as well. And when the two of them came up, my first thought was, well, here's our double put throughs. But they didn't do that this week.
Yeah, right. Um, that was a possibility, but like you said, there are fewer results, so the days of those might be coming to a close.
Yeah. And at this point, we've now have two golden buzzers in the finals. So two of the five golden, or not five. How many are there now?
There were four left.
There are
Or
okay,
if
four
you're
left.
talking about through every round, then there's eight,
There's
I guess. I don't
eight
know.
altogether, and this is now two of them in the finals.
Yeah.
So I think you made the comment that it sounds like the judges may have gotten it kind of right this year.
Oh yeah. They knew talent when they saw it.
Yep, yep. I did think Malivo would go through because again I thought they would have the double ones, but it is nice to see Sal go through as well. I just thought Malivo would still kind of have that following that would send them on through to the finals. But it's now
Yeah.
it's kind of sad to see them go, but it's great to see Sal in the finals.
I mean, for Sal to go from being a Duncan save to being in the top three of this round, I think is certainly an achievement. Um, I don't remember what round of quarterfinals he was in. Was he in round two or week two?
I think so. I'd have to go back. Was he in with the just stacked the one that was just stacked with everybody?
Yeah, honestly, I think week two of quarterfinals was a little bit tougher than this semifinals round, but maybe that's crazy to say. But yeah, good job, Sal, for achieving that, whether it's through your politics and desire to win or whatever. But yeah,
Yep. But that also now puts us two singers in the finals.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see him in the finals. The next group we have is John Dornbos, Blake Voigt, and Deadly Games.
Hmm. I really wanted Deadly Games from this, but people were so excited for John. This result just devastated me. I think this is um, just the most underrated act this season, going up against one of the most overrated. It broke my heart.
Yeah, in this one, I really thought Deadly Games would go through. I thought this was a big upset for John to go through. I'm okay with John going through. I didn't think that he would make it. Of those two, I would have, if I was one of the judges and I had to pick one of those two, I would have picked Deadly Games to go through over John. Um, so that gave us
Yeah.
now three golden buzzers going into the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little exciting to
Yeah.
see.
In my Monday night predictions, um, I got 4 of the 5 correct, and the one that I got wrong was John Dornbos. I had him way at the bottom of my list, and people were very mad about that. I think a little overly mad for AGT predictions. But had I stayed off the internet, I guess, for the 2 nights that the show was on, I probably would have had even less faith in him going through. But um, yeah, people really love him, and I think when he stepped on that stage with Deadly Games, I saw my nightmare scenario coming true.
Well, I don't think they're going to have any wild cards in the finals, so I think we've seen the last of Deadly Games. It's a shame. I wanted to see more of Anya. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what they kind of wanted to do, what they were going to do next. So it's sad. I hope they come perform in my area sometime, and I can go see them perform.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to.
Yep. We had a few more magicians, and then we finally get back to the Duncan save. And Nick told us that there was less than 200 votes between the top three, between the top two, between Laura Baton and Tape Face. And like you mentioned earlier, Tape Face got the America's pick. Mel B apologized to him. You mentioned that earlier. Um, and then we had a bunch of other stuff. And I actually wrote down, I was keeping track of this because we've talked about it before. The judge's decision came into play with 2.5 minutes left in the show.
Right.
I wanted to see how much time they actually gave them at the end of the show. And there was so much extra time they could have given them. I think they did two more things before they actually got to the judges' picks. So with 2.5 minutes left, they finally get to the judges, and we had Heidi, Melby, and Simon all picking Laura Breton, and Howie going with Edgar.
Yeah. And as a judge, you want to say your piece on that, but when it comes down to that much time, I think I would just blurt out a name. But right, there's that. I was happy about that result. I think, even though between Edgar and Laura, I think Edgar had the performance I enjoyed the most this year. Um, Laura, I guess, did better last night, and she could do very well in the finals.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that talk about performance, one performance against another, and they vote and judge based on the most recent performance they've seen, or based on the entire body of work, or based on what they would like to see in Vegas. I'm, I hate to say this, I'm kind of a mix of all three, and it's real. I hate saying this. I'm not really that consistent between when I choose to like an act and when I don't. Do you
Yeah.
do you kind of lean one way or another?
I try to keep myself voting on most recent performance, um, as interesting and as painful as that may be sometimes. So, for instance, the whatever year Illuminate was on, I think they made it to the finals and didn't win, and I was pretty content with that result since I actually did vote for whoever they lost to, even though Illuminate was my favorite act of the year. The other one did did better that round. So yeah, I try to do that maybe I'm sort of biased for tape face, I think is the main area I'm failing at that, but yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah, because that kind of leads us into now what they talked about was the wild cards, and they're bringing the passing zone back next week in semifinals.
Hmm.
Because the last performance we saw, people didn't enjoy, but we know kind of their body of work of what they can do. So do you go by the thing that you didn't enjoy, the last thing you watched that you didn't enjoy, or do you kind of look at, okay, I know that they can do this, let's give them another shot?
Yeah, wild cards I think about completely differently. I think the passing zone was a great choice for the wild card, and they also did present it well. They usually don't mention that an act is a wild card, like at all, it seems. Um, but yes, the passing zone has a lot of potential. Their last one was arguably a big misstep, but I think that is the perfect reason to bring them in for a wild card.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the choice they make. I could have gone with either them or Julia, and I would have been okay with it. Um, so I hope they don't disappoint in the semifinals. I think they've learned their lesson the second time, since I mistakenly said that this was their finals performance from season one. It was their semifinals performance. So hopefully they won't make that mistake again, and they'll go back to doing something dangerous and funny like they've done. Now, the promise was the judges voted, and if they brought him back, Simon's got to go up and do something. So we'll see if Simon actually follows through and goes up and participates in their act.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I know you can't wait. And I know you don't want harm to come to somebody, but it would kind of be nice to kind of see Simon get embarrassed a little bit.
Yeah. If they were bad jugglers, I wouldn't be excited, but
Yes, yeah, because we don't want anybody to get hurt.
hmm.
Do you have anything else to say about the results?
No, I'm excited for next week.
I'm excited for next week too. What we're going to talk about to kind of end this is as I was voting, since this is the first time I've gotten to vote all season. I voted online on the website, and I noticed I could give 10 votes to whichever performance I wanted to go through. And I think I got to pick three people, but I could give 10 votes to any three people I wanted to vote for. And I think I've come across this before in previous seasons, and I've talked about this with my wife as well, is why do you need 10 votes? Why do you get 10 votes? Why wouldn't you, if you like an act, just give that act 10 votes? And if I gave an act 10 votes and you gave another act 10 votes and somebody else, whatever, doesn't it all pretty much balance out that why don't you just get one vote? Why 10? Why can you, or give up to 10? Why can't you just give an act? Why don't they just limit it to one vote?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So you come from the era where the voting was different the last time you watched AGT, and the way that it used to be is you had 10 votes that you could give, period. So you sort of had to divide them up. And I think the reason they changed it is probably for higher engagement during the show. If you like an act, you can vote for them right then without seeing the rest. Um, I'm not really opposed to this change, but it is kind of odd. So the way I vote now is it's basically 1 to 10 is a scale of good to incredible. So if an act does something that I like, then I will vote for them on that sort of scale. So I thought about this when we talked about what we would change about AGT, and I think I would generally keep this around. Um, Something else I thought about is you can basically use it to vote against an act if you're not super into any of them, but you really hate one of them, you could theoretically vote 10 for all of them except for one. So that's sort of interesting to think about. If I was voting more strategically, I would probably scale up all of my votes to so that I'm always voting for 10 votes for somebody. So it's sort of weird to think about, but I just do, a scale of good to amazing, and then vote with every method that I can. Although this week I forgot to do that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this new system?
Um, Yeah, like you said, I came from an era, and I remember that now. The last time I watched and participated in this, it was a you're allotted 10 and you can divide them up however you want. Um, I'm still not a big fan of that because if I gave this one 5 and this one 3 and this one 2, well, it's still canceled out. My 5 still canceled out those other votes that I gave to other performances. They're not going to catch up. So I just personally would say, I guess going back to the changes we do, I would say you can vote for 5 people and you each get a vote. You just one vote on each person you want to vote for. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I think I would just personally just keep it simple. Because if I'm voting and I can give a vote 10 votes to a person, I'm gonna give them 10 votes. I'm gonna give them the max I can give them.
Yeah,
But that's me.
yeah, you're right. You
Yeah.
have a point there. I wouldn't be too opposed to that system.
Well, that's all I had for that. I just kind of wanted to get that straightened out and say my piece on it. Do you have anything else you
Yeah,
want
it's
to?
worth talking about.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about from this show?
I don't think so, unless you want to look at next week's lineup. I don't know.
Yeah, we can look at that. So next week we have semifinals week 2, which will include the Clairvoyants, Victor Key, Stephen Brundage, Sophie Dossie, Callista Bevier, Katie Lynn, Jana Brown, Lincoln Bridge, Caden Bart Rocket, Brian Justin Crum, and the Passing Zone. What do you think of this lineup?
I am a lot more excited for this one than semifinals one. As soon as we're done recording this, I'll probably go make some predictions on who I think is going to go through. But in terms of what I want to see, this looks quite a bit better. Victor Key, the Passing Zone, Clairvoyant, Stephen Brundage, um, Brian Justin Crum. I mean, I think we have the 5 I want already, but I can't speak too early. Um, but I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, this one does look pretty good. Clairvoyant, Stephen Brundage, Brian Justin Crum, Lincoln Bridge. I'm not too keen on Victor Key, but yeah, this looks like a pretty good lineup. You never know. Sophie may come out of nowhere and do something different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see much from Caden Bart Rocket. I don't think he's going to do anything new. Probably still be a little entertaining just because he's a kid, but as far as anything groundbreaking, I don't see anything from that. Jana Brown, I don't see anything new from her. So maybe we can kind of weed out some of these singers for next week.
Yeah, yeah. The singers are gonna have a lot of challenges, but if none of them went through, I would be surprised. So it's gonna be intense.
Yeah, it's looking real good. And then we've got the finals coming up. And for those of you that are still listening at this point, an hour and a half into it, which we said we're going to make it shorter this week, but we seem to have a lot to talk about. For those of you that tune in for the finale, we're going to have something real. We're thinking of doing something real special for the finale. Still got some logistics to work out on it, but if we can get everything worked out, we have something very exciting planned for the finale. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone who has been listening to the show at all. Whenever you came into the fold, it's really nice to have people listening. So it's exciting, and thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate those of you that are listening and uh, posting some feedback to us anytime we mess up, fact checking us, particularly me. I know I've made some faux pas in the facts the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate you pointing those out. But if you do want to get in contact with us directly, you can reach us on Facebook and Twitter at AGTcast. We also have an email account, agtcast@gmail.com. Both of us are pretty present on Reddit. You may see us post some things on Reddit. We will post the podcast out there when it comes out each week. So if you have feedback for us, you can post out on there as well. We'd be excited to hear from you. We would also love a rating, a 5-star rating out on iTunes. That'd be great. So if you leave a review, we may read it back on the air. Um, Yeah, we'd appreciate it. You got anything else for this evening?
That is all, but I'm very excited for things to come. If you thought this episode was big, you ain't seen nothing yet.
No, we appreciate it if you tune in again next week when we put in another hour and a half for semifinals two. I know we're going to have a lot to talk about, a lot of opinions on what happens that night. So stay tuned for that.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a good evening.